Hi y'all, it's that time again. New patterns have been released by the Big Five. They're available now online and soon they are going to be in stores. Here in Atlanta, it feels like it is still 100 degrees outside with like 110% humidity, so I am still very much sewing for summer. However, I know some of you are going to be sewing for fall early. Some of you guys live in cooler climates. So let's go ahead and take a look at these new fall 2024 patterns.
Here we are on the landing page for Simplicity's fall patterns. Here they're telling us that this fall edit is everything from casual looks to extraordinary costumes. Now, I'm not going to be covering the costumes here on this video because that's just really not my thing. I'm not really big into Halloween. I don't do costumes. So if that's your vibe, I'm sure someone else is going to review them, but you won't be hearing about those for me. We are going to stick to the everyday wear here. We are going to do what we usually do, which start with the lowest number pattern, work our way up to the highest. I'm going to share my thoughts. You're going to let me know yours in the comments. So let's get into it. All right, we are starting with Simplicity 3000. This is a pretty simple dress with a little bit of a twist in the back. I talked about this in the Vogue patterns. I think that there's like a mullet thing going on this fall, but we'll get into it. Let's go ahead and look at the pictures on this pattern envelope first. I like this emerald green. It sort of trends fall, but it's a bright green, so it actually sort of still works for summer, especially in this shorter length. So this is something that you could sew up right now if you wanted to, depending on your climate. Again, it's a very basic dress. It's just a princess seam dress. We have view A on the model here. There are these flared sleeves that do add a little bit of interest. You don't typically see that on, I think, a princess dress, or at least not this length, I don't think. So yeah, it's a pretty simple dress until you get to the back that has this like cape moment here, which is just sort of interesting because you don't really expect it from the front. I'm actually not sure whether I like it or not, but it's just different. Now, let's look into the fabrics, what I would expect. We're talking about challis, a crepe, lightweight denim, linen, poplin, sateen, basically any sort of semi-drapey kind of woven. You don't want anything that's too light, but the lighter the fabric, the more movement you're probably going to get in that cape there. So this is a cute pattern. It's nothing to write home about for me. If you really are into the cape detail in the back, I think that this would be a good one for you. It is available in sizes 10 through 18 and then 20 women's to 28 women's. We will take a look at the line drawings real quickly. You can see view A is what was on the model. View B is a little bit longer with a slit, and then view C is more of a full length with a longer slit, obviously, to make it possible to walk. And it does have a self belt here as well. And if we read the description, it also lets you know that there are separate pattern pieces for your cup sizes, which is great. I think that that would make this more applicable to more people sewing it, and it's great for a basic dress pattern. S3001 actually feels a little bit more like a fall dress to me. Maybe it's the color scheme, but I really think it's just the length and the longer sleeves. We can look again at the envelope here and see that the one that the model is wearing is more of like a silkier, satiny or fabric, right? You see a little bit of sheen here. It has a yoke with gathers and a V that's tied together with a bow. You have full drapey sleeves, and then you have like a longer skirt here. You can see here in the sort of colorized graphics that it's just the same silhouette at different lengths, with or without the belt. The gathering does look really nice on the back here. It also gives you, you know, some room to move around. This would be a great dress to wear like for Thanksgiving because it could grow with you. They say chambray, cotton blends, crepe de chine, linen blends, poplin, satin, or silky types. They definitely use like a silky type fabric on the one here on the model. You can see that you have an 8 to 16 and 18 to 26. So again, I don't understand the sizing structure of the Big Five patterns at all, but at least they're going higher into the 20s and sometimes the 30s. If we look at the line drawings here, you can see A and B are essentially the same dress, like I said, minus the length and then the option to have the belt. This is a dress that I think will highly depend on what fabric you choose. Like that is really going to affect the overall look of the dress. So I could definitely see myself making this. It seems like it's a really easy dress to sew. They rate it as easy, but it's not something that I necessarily have to have, if that makes sense. Let me know what you think. Now, to me, a fall staple is definitely a white blouse, as you can see on the model here in view A. Like, I don't know, you need a white blouse. This may not be the white blouse that I would choose, but I feel like you need one. I honestly don't have one, but still, I probably need one. And then you also see it in view B here in a print. So let's take a look actually at the line drawing so we can see the differences in the two views, and then we'll go back up. So view A is going to have the button placket in the front. You're going to have cuffs with 3 buttons. You're going to have a collar stand and a collar, a little bit of gathering at the shoulder, princess seams in the front, fisheye curved darts in the back. And then view B is going to be very similar, except for you're going to have a placket to conceal the buttons, and you are going to have, instead of cuffs, just like a sleeve band. Of course, you could intermix these two things, put the button placket on either view, decide what sleeve you prefer, but there's really not a lot of difference in these two views. Now we can go back and look at the pattern envelope. Like I said, we have one very standard and plain here with the pearl buttons. I would probably pass on that, but I know what they were going for here. And then there is the print version. You can see here that the buttons are hidden. I actually like the colors in this print a lot. But anyway, yeah, so these are just going to be the illustrated drawings here. Very classic look, white button down over some slacks, darts in the back for some extra fitting. Again, extra fitting. You have that shirt tail here, which is very flattering. And this is going to be available in sizes 10 through 18, and then 20 women's through 28 women's, and then 30 women's to 38 women. So yes, for some more size inclusivity here. Love to see it. This is really a good basic blouse. If you don't have a pattern for that, this would be a good one to have. I think the princess seams actually make the fitting a little bit easier. So I think this would be a great pick if this is something that you don't already have in your repertoire. Another fall staple is definitely a turtleneck. And here you have 3 different views of like a knit shirt, 2 being that turtleneck. Again, I want to start with the line drawings just to look at the differences in the views here. Okay, view A is going to be just like a classic turtleneck. There is a neck, a zipper in the back, so this is going to be very close fitting, something they don't think that you can pull over your head. Regular classic sleeves here. View B is going to be similar to view A, except for it's going to be a little bit shorter, more waist length instead of hip length. And then you are going to have the option, well, not the option, you're going to have gathered like trumpet bell sleeves here. And then view C is going to be, again, very similar, but without the turtleneck, although for some reason it seems like the zipper is still here, and I don't see why that would be necessary. And then you have a shorter gathered sleeve here if you want that for emphasis. I don't know that I'm really sold on the sleeve, but let's take a look at it on the model. They are doing it in this sort of terracotta rust pumpkin-y color here, which is very classic for fall. You can see, like I said, this one fits a little bit more at like the low waist, the top of your waistband, whereas view A is going to fit a little bit longer and go over your pants to like more of a hip length. But there's nothing extravagant about this. It's a nice basic staple pattern. So if you need a turtleneck or just a knit shirt in general, this may be a good one for you. It's going to call for basically any stretch knit. But if you're talking about doing this in the fall, you may want to use double brush poly, a sweater knit, a rib knit. You might even want to do a lightweight ponte knit if you want something a little bit heavier. The options are really endless here. This is available from a 6 to a 14 and then a 16 to a 24. Now this is knit, so you could probably push that a little bit further, but yeah, the sizing's a little limited on this one. Simplicity 3004 is going to be another blouse pattern, but this one's very different in the fact that it is a wrap. I want to like this pattern more than I do, if that makes sense. I really love a wrap shirt, just like I love wrap dresses. But I find that oftentimes wrap shirts are either cropped, which I think I prefer, or have this peplum. And although the peplum often works, sometimes for me personally it doesn't, and this is one of those times. But let's go ahead and look at it on the model. I like it in the crisp white, again, just a classic white, well, a twist on a classic white blouse, I should say here. And then you have a sleeveless version with a shorter peplum, and then like a flutter sleeve with a shorter peplum as well. There's just something about the peplum that throws it off for me a little bit. Although, like I said, I really want to like the overall lines of this. It comes from a 6 to a 14 and then a 16 to a 24. Just basically your classic woven fabrics for this. So you could do something like a lightweight linen, a poplin, or a shirting if you want something with a little bit more structure. And if you want something to be a little bit more drapey, then you could go with like a challis or a charmeuse or maybe gauze, something like that. Laundered cotton maybe. And then we can look at the line drawings here. Again, view A is going to be sleeveless with a little bit shorter peplum and the thick elastic at the waist. And view B and C are going to be essentially the same except for the sleeves, which A is going to have this large 4-button cuff. Is that 5 buttons? 4-button cuff and the flutter sleeve here. I think maybe what's getting me is when I have a wrap shirt, I really do like for it to truly tie, although that is annoying. And maybe it's something about the width of the elastic here. Maybe if this was more like a 1/2 inch elastic instead of what seems to be maybe about an inch. Let's see what the pattern calls for. It calls for 1.25 yards of 1.5 inch elastic. Yeah, that's just a little bit too thick for me in the middle region. But let me know what you guys think about it. Do you prefer sort of like a faux wrap, or do you like the true wrap with the ties that then unfortunately you do seem to be adjusting most of the day? Let me know. 3005 brings us a fall skirt, and this one is more of a panel type skirt. It has pleats in the front and the back, and also belt loops as the waistband, as you can see here on the line drawings, and this off-centered patch pocket on one of the sort of like front side seams. You can see here there are going to be pleats in the front and pleats in the back. The only difference between view A and view B here is going to be the length. View A is going to hit like right at the knee. View B is more of a midi length. They both have a self stash. So yeah, let's take a look at the pictures. I like the colors that they're using here. The denim, very fall. Love the top stitching. Also, this army green definitely looks fall. Close up some of the details. Now, this is very earthy. I like the brown with the green. This is a cute look. You can sort of see that these are pleats here versus like slits that they might look like on the line drawing. You could definitely do this in a plaid. I would probably, if I was doing it in a plaid, do the pocket on the diagonal, sort of like they have the belt here. That would be a fun pop, but anyway. Yeah, so basically a very simple skirt. It has a side zip because this panel means that there's no center back seam, so it's better to do it on the side. You can see there. And this is going to be another one of those patterns that's more size inclusive. So we have from a 10 to an 18 and then a 20W to a 28W, as well as a 30W to a 38W. So this is a pattern that hopefully will fit most, not all, because, you know, we know they're not going to cover everybody. But this is a nice basic fall staple if you don't have a nice basic midi knee-length skirt in your collection. S3006 are an interesting pair of pants. They describe them as angled front wrap pants. So let's take a look at the line drawing. You know, I like to show the line drawings to show the details here. We have views A and B. Both are like really long. I've never seen Simplicity or any of the big five like put the shoes here to show the drapiness of the pants, but I guess that is a design feature. And they have these wrap front. These lines here on the front leg are actually like folded over fabric that we might be able to see a little bit better on the model. But you also have the option here of like a sewn in belt that ties with belt loops, or on view B, you have much thicker belt carriers, and then you can wear it with a belt, obviously, and it definitely has a fly zipper on the front as well as side inseam pockets. So I don't know that you can really see it that much better on the model, but let's take a look here in this dark brown. Let's zoom in a bit. You can see that this fabric here underneath her hand is folded over. It's folded over like a wrap or a pleat. You can actually see a little bit of the hook enclosure here in the wider like belt carriers. There are pockets. And you have the fly zip like I stated. So this is just sort of an interesting look. I mean, it's definitely different. I've never seen pants from the Big Five that have this feature. Some are wrap pants, but they truly wrap, like tie around wrap. These don't exactly do that. We only have view B on the model here, but they do come in a size 8 to 16 and then 18 to 26. Any probably lightweight, medium weight woven would work really well for this. It says a lightweight twill, linen blends, stretch wovens like stretch gabardine, a stretch suiting, a stretch sateen, cotton blends as well as flannel. So yeah, these are definitely interesting pants if you want something that just has a little bit more interest than your standard pair of pants. The fall definitely means cooler temps, so we are definitely going to have some jackets and coats in this release. And first up is 3007. This is a very simple jacket. It's a shawl type jacket. They're calling it a puffer style, but it doesn't really look all that puffed on the model to me. It has, oh, I see now. This is why I tell you how to look at the line drawings. On the line drawings, you can see the stitching lines across the front and the back, and that's where the puffer element comes in, as well as along on the shawl. So yeah, puffer element. So this is sort of like a asymmetrical wrap in the front, big shawl collar. It's calling this drop sleeve, but I don't really think these are dropped sleeves. And then you have two lengths, whether you want a hip length or more of a waist length of view B. We can take a look at it on the pattern envelope here and see if we can see that puffer detail. Yeah, you can a little bit, but they didn't really puff it out like what I think of when you think of like puffer jacket, but I can see the details in the seam lines here. Okay. So that is it on the model. They do it in a bright cherry color, which I actually like coats in jewel tones that are deep and rich for fall, but I also like them in bright colors because just because it might be cold and dreary outside, don't mean I don't want to like a nice bright burst of yellow like you have on the model here. You'll see that you have button loops here for the button closure. And again, it just comes in two lengths. So this is more of like the hip length. And then you could do the shorter version view B, which would be more of a hip length. This is available in an extra small to an extra large. And I believe that's all in one envelope. Now, what you may want to consider here is buying some stuffing, right? If you want it to look a little bit puffier than it does on the model, because I see that it doesn't call for that. It just calls for a lining fabric and fleece inner lining, but you might want to use, some stuffing like for the teddy bears and stuff if you want it to be like real poofy. Anyway, this is going to be a sort of oversized type jacket, hence you get the letter sizing versus the number sizing here, but I could definitely see this being a good jacket to wear as the temps continue to drop. We have another coat in 3008, but this coat is really highly going to depend on the fabric that you use because it is a super simple pattern. You can see it's just a simple sleeve, a shawl collar, not a separate lapel, not notched. There are no closures here. It's just an open. They don't even include a tie belt with this. But what would make this stand out is exactly how the model has it on, in like a faux fur, in a sherpa, in something really fuzzy, in a sequence fabric, if you will, something really elaborate where you don't want to spend a lot of time cutting through difficult seams of fur and sequins and glitter, but you want to make a statement piece using some fabulous fabric. This would be the kind of coat that you would do this with. I swore after one project that I did with fur for a coworker for a commission that I was never going to sew fur again, and I have not. to this day, despite actually having some fur fabric. I have not. But this might make me do it. Now, it don't really get cold enough in Atlanta for this type of like faux fur luxury, but I could see myself doing it anyway. This is going to be sized from an 8 to a 16 and then an 18 to a 26. You can see first up, they have faux fur and fleece. Again, I would also say like a Sherpa would work for this. They also include tweed and wool. So you could also use those fabrics, maybe even something in like a really big plaid, again, because the least amount of seam lines that you have, the less matching up you have to do for those kind of things. So I could see this in a big bold plaid or houndstooth as well. And yeah, it's going to be, actually, no, it's not as much of a fabric haul as I thought it would be. You're looking at less than 4 yards. But again, that's because you're talking about large pieces, but they're whole pieces. You're not like matching a whole lot of things together. So yeah, this can definitely work. I could see everybody making this. What really matters with this pattern is the fabric that you choose. The fabric is going to be very important with this. What would you make it out of? 3009 is trying to give that same energy, but more in a cropped jacket type of vibe. I'm not feeling it, but y'all might, so we're going to talk about it. You can see here on the model, they use like a textured fur, which is interesting and adds some details. It's a very simple jacket like the previous pattern, so the fabric here is going to make it stand out. You have a very similar shawl collar here. But there is actually 3 buttons that bring this together. This animal print also adds a little bit of interest, and it has, I forget what this is called, but like when you get that squared off collar in the back. So it does have some interesting details. It's just, I don't really like the shape of it. Of course, again, this one is going to tell you faux fur, as well as fleece. It's going to add minky. Again, you could do Sherpa, little teddy bear kind of fabric. All of those would work for this. And this one's going to take even less fabric because there's less here. It's going to be a size 6 to a 14 and 16 to a 24, which lets me know that they're probably trying to target the young people with this one. But I do like how they sketch it out to look furry. I do think that's sort of cute. It's just, I don't understand jackets with short sleeves. Y'all know how I feel about vests. I feel the same way about jackets with short sleeve. Either it's cold or it's not. I don't get it. I also would never want to sew buttonholes on fur fabric. That sounds like torture, and I'm not signing up for that. Of course, you could just switch that out for a snap or something else. But again, this, I don't know. This isn't for me, but it might be for you. They also include this really simple purse with like a fold over flap closure. For the purse, you see her carrying it in her hand. It's actually more of like a tote bag size, but I did say I was going to start making bags. This won't be one of them. Or maybe, no, this won't be one of them, but there's a little extra here in this pattern with it having the bag. So that's nice. Let me know how y'all feel about this. Would you make a fur jacket out of this pattern or 3008, the one right before? All right, in every simplicity drop, you're going to get 1 or 2 Mimi G patterns, and this is the first one that we're coming across in this release. It is 3010. Now, this is a nice fall staples piece. I love that you get 3 pieces in one pattern. You get a tank like cropped top and a midi length skirt. Now, I feel like there have been a few versions of this skirt released from Simplicity in the last little bit, but I like it paired with the top, and then you get the extra bonus of having the cardigan. So in this case, it is fine. Let's look at the line drawings first. You are going to get view A, which is going to be sort of like a dolman sleeve, slouchy sleeve cardigan. And it has 3 simple buttons on the front with like a neckband as well as armbands and a hemband. And then for the 2 coordinate pieces, you are going to have like a cropped tank. It calls it a racerback, but this doesn't look very racerback in the line drawings. We'll look at it on Mimi in a second. And then you're going to have sort of a straight but elastic waist knit pull-on skirt with a side seam. Again, I think there's another Simplicity, or that might be McCall's pattern, that has a very similar skirt with a different kind of knit top. But anyway, let's take a look at the pattern here on Mimi, and I love this eggplant that she chose. Very fall, nice deep rich color. And see how the sweater isn't the exact fabric of the dress, but it like all coordinates together. I like that. You can see that it's definitely an oversized fit, but once you take it off, you can have a cute little coordinate set, you know, ready to go wherever. And she actually doesn't show us a back view here. So yeah, it describes it as a racer back, but I don't know that it really has the racer back. We'll just have to see on the line drawing. It doesn't really look like it. But anyway, this comes from an 8 to a 16 and then an 18 to a 26. Of course, you can mix and match this to your heart's desire. Any knit is going to work for this. Jersey, a rib knit, a sweater knit would be perfect for fall. Like just whatever knits you may have in your stash. The two tank top and skirt pieces aren't going to take a lot of fabric. The cardigan's going to take a little bit more, but if you have some coordinating fabric laying around, this would be a really cute set to make for fall. Her next pattern is a fall jumpsuit. And y'all, when Mimi posted this to her Instagram page, I was like, it is too hot for me to even imagine putting this on, but I'm getting this pattern. And I mean that because it's super cute. I, for one, love a jumpsuit in the summer, in the fall, in the winter, I don't care. But in the cooler weather, I like it especially because they're just so cozy, right? And I love one-piece dressing, which is why I make so many dresses. But anyway, I think this is very cute. It's like a jogging suit, but all together, right? So you can see on the line drawings here that it sort of like has a high mock turtleneck collar, and it has sort of like a retro vibe in this like chevron shape in the bodice. It reminds me of like old school tracksuits, right? That continues around to the back, even though it's straight in the back here. And then you're going to have the elasticized waist for just a, you know, a little bit fitting. And then you are going to have these wide leg pants that just look oh so cozy. All right. So let's take a look at it on Mimi. You can see she did it in a nice sporty gray. I always think like a good sweatsuit set should be in like a heather gray. I don't know, just where my brain always goes. So I like this. You can see if we zoom in that chevron detail in the top stitching across the front. You have like a triple elastic waistband thing going on here in the middle. And then you have pin tucks on the front leg and I believe the back leg. We'll see in a second. So yeah, I really like this one. I will be grabbing it. It is going to take a little bit of fabric. In the larger sizes, you're looking at like 4 1/4. And even in the smaller sizes, you're looking at 3 1/2, which isn't a lot. As long as it's under like 5, I'm fine. Things that start hitting 4, I'm like, oh, do I have 4 yards of fabric in the stash? Because early in my sewing journey, I wouldn't buy as much fabric, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to try to step away from that now and only buy fabric for what I need. So that's not going to be a problem going forward. But anyway, this is available in a 10 to an 18 and a 20W to a 28W. This, again, is going to work for any knit. If you can find some good sweatshirt fleece, this would be amazing. I always have the hardest time finding sweatshirt fleece, at least any that I want to pay for that has a decent amount of stretch. But I do have some from Melanated Fabric sale last year or this past year. No, this year. So I might be able to use it if I have 4 yards of it. You could also use the scuba. A ponte would be great. Just any thicker knit if you really want to have that cozy feel and the look that she has on here in this pattern envelope. This is one of my favorite patterns from this drop. And so far the only one that I'm really considering getting. Simplicity 3012 is a unisex pattern, which I'm not always a fan of because, I don't know, I'm not a person who wears a whole lot of stuff oversized, but sometimes that's definitely the look that you're going for. So I get their purpose. But this one, I don't really understand. Again, y'all know how I feel about vests, okay? If it's cold, then I want to be warm. And if it's hot, why do I need a vest? Same way I feel about a short sleeve hoodie. Let's look at it. On view A, you can see that you have essentially that, a short sleeve hoodie. Hits right about at the waist, large hood, and then this sort of pieced sleeve here, which I do think could be a lot of fun for color blocking or pattern matching. But again, I don't understand why I need a hood and short sleeve. They don't go together. I would rather have long sleeves and a hood in a really light fabric. That makes sense to me than this, but maybe that's just me. View B makes equally as little sense because although it has the piece sleeve and it is a full length sleeve with a cuff, it has this weird peekaboo at the elbow. Now, if I'm cold, Why do I want my elbows out? I don't understand. Y'all help me. I don't get it. Someone tell me in the comments, like, if you would wear this, why? I mean, I guess I get what you're saying. Like, it's just an interesting detail, but like, I would rather have an underarm vent than an elbow vent, because like maybe I could see maybe it's cold outside and then I got a little toasty and like my armpits need to breathe. But why do my elbows, I'm gonna let it go. Anyway, same thing. You can have some fun with color blocking here. I'm actually sort of sad that neither one of the mock-ups on the models have any color blocking, because like you're wasting all those seam details. That's just me though. So again, view A, short sleeve, a little bit shorter length. View B, long sleeve, longer length with the bands, both hoodies. So unisex, men or women, you can do here all the things that I've already said. I mean, it looks like they've made it out of like a sweatshirt fleece or a ponte. So I don't know. Goes from an extra small to an extra, extra large. Again, this is unisex sizing, so it's going to trend a little bit more to the men's sizing here. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. It's just me and my hang up about short sleeve winter stuff or short sleeve hooded stuff. Anyway, this is me. Let me know in the comments. Every drop needs a few vintage patterns, and here are our vintage ones for this fall. They are 3016, which is a cute gored skirt. It's like a flared skirt. It's going to be from the 50s. You are going to have a zipper in the back. Again, we never have many photos with the vintage ones, so let's start with the line drawings. You can see view A sort of has like an extended waist. Like there's not a waistband. The skirt just comes up and tightens into a waistband here. And you have these huge paneled or like patch pockets on the side, which definitely looks very like 50s housewife. I sort of like it. And then view B or view 2 is going to be the same as view 1. Essentially, it just has an actual waistband instead of like whatever the other one is called. And then view 3 is just basically the same skirt, but no pockets. I don't really know why they call that a different view. They all have a zipper in the center back. Of course, with the retro patterns, you don't get new pictures. You just get the same older illustrations. They did this one in a plaid, which is going to be interesting. A classic like navy blue. Don't know if that was supposed to be denim. And then like this looks like it would be more of like a tweed or a suiting with like the little faint line details that you have here. Now, the retro patterns aren't usually known for getting expansive in their sizing, but this one does pretty good, going from an 8 to a 16 and then an 18 to a 26. It calls for basically just woven fabrics: cotton, rayon, taffeta, wool, denim. This says fake fur. I would probably not do that. Wool, corduroy, cotton, winter woven fabrics, basically. Now, this is going to be just a skirt, but it's going to take up a little bit more fabric because you're talking about a 4-paneled skirt. So you're talking about up to maybe 3-ish yards, 2 to 3 yards to make this kind of pattern. If you are into retro patterns or just like a nice basic flared skirt, I think this would be cute. This one isn't one that just screams retro. It just sort of leans retro because it is a popular style from that time period. 3017 is from the 70s, and this one almost had me, y'all, because y'all know I love a good wrap dress, and I thought that the details on this were interesting. You have like this wrap skirt front, but a very traditional, like straightforward, I don't know, basic bodice here. I know that these, what does it say what those darts are called? I know they have a name. Yeah, I don't see it, but there is a name for darts that come up on the lower side like this, but whatever. So you have lots of darts. You have darts on the front, you have darts on the back, waist, back shoulder, also the elbow. So this would be, a lot of darts. If you hate darts, I don't mind darts, but I know some people do. What lost me about this was the fact that the faux isn't really faux, which I guess I should have known because like it has to tie back into the bodice. But anyway, this is like a faux wrap in the front with the option of doing like some trim here, buttons along the faux wrap, or 4 buttons here, sort of in like a sailor kind of situation. So you do have those options here, and it also comes with a scarf pattern for accessorizing. So if we look at again the illustrated sketches, because you're not going to get actual photos with the vintage patterns for some reason. You can see on the models, it actually looks quite cute. And this is why originally I was like, oh, I might get this one. But then when I looked at the details, I realized I'm actually not going to get this one. But it does look very 70s. I mean, I wasn't born in the 70s, but it does the look that I know comes from the 70s. And I do think that the matching scarf is sort of interesting, especially if you do it like in a wool or a tweed or like a bose or something. So yeah, it is going to be from an 8 to a 16 and then an 18 and a 26. So again, they did a little bit better about extending the pattern here. And again, wovens, medium weight wovens. It also calls for a double knit, which is interesting as well. But anything from a lightweight wool to a linen to a challis to a flannel, anything like that would work fine for this dress. 3018 is also from the 70s, and this sort of just makes me think about like a 70s starter set. You have a pair of wide leg pants that don't look like they're quite bell bottom, but they're pretty wide. And then you have a couple of different variations of this cropped jacket. One has the single button closure thing. One is short sleeves with sort of a cuff detail. One is long sleeves with that same cuff detail, and one is just more plain without the closure or any of the details on the sleeve, but they're all gathered at the shoulder and have a crop length. And then you have a 6-panel sort of skirt here. Well, this is on a center seam, so maybe a little bit more than a 6-panel because they did put the zipper on the center back. But again, no photos here, just illustrations, so we can take a look at this. And of course, they scream 70s, right? So, sort of Brady Bunches here, but very cute. Like the pants I would still very much wear. I don't know about the jacket. You can see in this previous one, you have like that really oversized 70s collar as well. Anyway, yeah, I don't know that I really need the set, but this would be something fun to make if you were going to like a vintage party, or if this is just your aesthetic and your style. This would be on brand, I would believe. So this is from a 6 to a 14 and then a 16 to a 24. Again, mid to lightweight wovens you're going to use here. Nothing too heavy, nothing too drapey. You can piece these combinations together however you like and make an outfit here. So there you go, another vintage 70s pattern. New to the Big Five are these Sewn adaptive patterns, which are the brainchild of Lynn. Of course, if you know Lynn, you know. Follow Sewn Adaptive on all your social media. And I am a person who took being an able-bodied person for granted and never really thought about how, if maybe that isn't your case, that you would need your patterns to fit you a little differently. And so I'm really excited that these patterns have been added to these Big Five companies where people don't have to go in and make these adjustments themselves. So you can see here, this is a Shacket. And it just has different methods of construction. So view A actually looks pretty standard, but if you look at view B, you can see this curved front detail, and that would be of benefit for someone who was in a wheelchair because they don't have all that fabric sort of just gathering in their lap, if that makes sense. And that's why I'm assuming you have a person who is in a wheelchair in this jacket, even though they look like they are in view A. And they do have some other things, like instead of buttons with buttonholes, maybe if you have problems with your hand motions, that maybe you would prefer a snap or a magnet versus, say, a button in a buttonhole, because like sometimes them little teeny buttons are hard. So this really makes a lot of sense, and I'm really glad that it's being offered here. So like I said, this is actually, I think, the view A jacket, but you can see how it fits them nicely. And here are the illustrated drawings of that. You have some details on the back here as well. And then this is going to be offered from an extra small to an extra large. They are calling for what you would typically think of in a jacket, like cotton, denim, flannel, wool, linen, gabardine. Any of those would work for this pattern. And I'm happy that they've been added to. Another pattern from Sewn Adaptive is 3020, and these are jeans. These are unisex jeans, again, designed with some modifications in mind. They actually show you a few of these up close on the pattern envelope, and we can take a look at them in the picture. So, of course, look like they're styled like classic jeans here. You can see a hint of one of the details here, which is a zipper at the leg openings for maybe if you have a prosthetic leg that needs to be attached, as well as a faux fly with the zippers instead on the side for easier access. You can see here that zipper at the leg seam. You can see that there is a pocket for whatever bag you may need for bodily fluids or medicine or what IV or whatever the case may be. And there's also side zippers here. You can see that detail at the waistband. They also mention having more of a roomier seat with more generous curves for people who are primarily going to be sitting. Now we can look here at the materials, and of course these are jeans, so denim, but also you could use like a chino, a gabardine, any sort of twill that you wanted to use. And these are available in a 34 to a 52. So a pretty good size range here. I mean, you know, we can always have more sizes, but I love that Simplicity and the Big Five branding are adding more and more options to their pattern catalog. Well, that is all from Simplicity for this fall 2024 drop. Of course, as usual, I skipped the kids patterns and I skipped the costumes because that's just not me, y'all, and this video would be entirely too long. So let me know what you think about the patterns in the comments, and let me know which ones you're thinking about grabbing. As for myself, I can only really see myself grabbing Simplicity 3011, which is that Mimi one-piece jumpsuit situation, and possibly Simplicity 3008, because that would be really fun to make out of fur if I can wrap my head around making it out of fur. So let me know which ones you plan to grab in the comments. We will discuss. If you enjoyed this video and want to make sure that you don't miss a new pattern drop, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing!